wavy, I'm so wavy, I'm so wavy, I'm so wavy.
There was a girl who couldn't leave her room every October 10th of the year.
Why October 10th?
This is why. So the mom, whenever the date came, she would mark it on the calendar. She would circle it. She would highlight it. Make sure that her kid was in her room with no windows and stuff.
Yeah.
She never told her kid why, right? And whenever she had
That's
school on
great.
that day, or if she had to do something else that day, she's like, nope, you're not allowed to leave the house. So every year, both of them would, on October 10th, they would lock themselves in a room with no windows, right? And every year, fam, you would hear someone ring the doorbell on the house.
Yeah.
Right? But the mom obviously is with the child. So she's like, no, we're staying in this room, we're staying in this room. And as soon as midnight hits and October 11th comes,
Yeah.
the knocking, the ringing of the doorbell disappears.
But why that day? Like what?
Exactly. Trust me, it's building up. It's building up. So one day,
This is
Hey, y'all, that remind me of what's that show? From? Y'all ever seen From? Yeah, that remind me of that show. Like, check that out if y'all ain't ever seen it. That's a good one. Like, man, they getting renewed for their other season, so hopefully it's still, you know, they gonna cancel it like they do so many other good shows, you feel me? So check out From. But that's crazy though. Why y'all think she couldn't come out on October 29th? What was anybody know something about that day? That's crazy. Drop in the comment section if y'all know more than I know. Or I need another video. I need to see part 2. I ain't even gonna hold you. I need to see part 2. I definitely need to see part 2.
This is why you should never take walks alone at night. In 2007, a girl was on a late night walk when she looked at the end of the road and saw the silhouette of a man moving around very strangely. It was like he was doing the waltz, but he was moving towards her, so she was sketched out, crossed the road, and went the other way. After a couple minutes, she turned around to see what he was doing, and he was right across the street from her, now staring up into the sky with a huge grin on his face. Now totally creeped out, she turns around and walks about a half block before checking again, and to her horror, he's now crouched down right behind her. But luckily, he stands up, turns around, and kind of hobbles away. And then she notices something. The man had turned around and was now sprinting directly towards her. She runs to safety and now just hopes she never has to see that smiling man again.
If you're ever camping,
That's why that's why everybody needs their gun license. Get you a gun license. Or get you some type of something that's gonna protect you, especially if you know you a female and you walking out here late at night. Get you something. Man, get you something. I ain't saying, you know, go get a gun and all that. I ain't advocating for all that, you know, if you ain't got a license. But if you a woman out here, protect yourself at all costs, because there's some sick people out here. And, man, you just never know. Just never know.
alone in the forest, which is something that I started doing when I was young there. If you ever hear animal sounds that are not quite right at night, you get up and leave. Because if they're getting close to you and they don't want you to hear human sounds, they'll start communicating in animal voices.
What?
And so, yeah, there's a few guys that were out there, and they started hearing, like, sounds that were just a little bit off, you know? You hear, like, a laughing falcon sound. And then he heard the capuchins from different areas, and usually capuchin monkeys are going to be all together in one spot. And he heard it from different directions, and he was just like, he said he climbed into the river and crawled like a turtle out of that. He said he went for hours and just to escape.
I didn't know that a lot of kids were not allowed to watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
When they were kids. But there is some dark humor in it.
Did we ever talk about the Mr. Krabs surveillance theory?
No, what is that?
There's a theory how Mr. Krabs, you know how he loves money?
Yeah.
He would do anything for money, right?
Yeah.
Because in one episode, he has a room, and Squidward and SpongeBob, they accidentally find it. And in the room, there's a whole bunch of, like, screens. And they're surveilling everybody. And then one of them is, like, in Sandy's house while she's brushing her teeth and shit. So theory
in her bathroom?
that Mr. Krabs, since he loves money, he took money to surveil everybody in Bikini Bottom and kind of sell them out to whoever's, like, studying them or who even knows for what reason.
Damn. Hey, that's creepy. That's creepy as hell because, was you allowed to watch SpongeBob when you was little? I know in my household, I used to watch cartoon, Nickelodeon, growing up, like, but During that SpongeBob era, I think I had switched over to Disney Channel, like Even Stevens and all that stuff was popping. So it was like I wasn't really with that Nickelodeon anymore. And SpongeBob was a little weird to me. I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was a little shifty, but you know, he had his funny. I seen little funny moments. I did watch the show here and there, but it wasn't my go-to. Let me SpongeBob on type thing. You feel me? But if you was able to if you wasn't able to watch SpongeBob in your household, drop in the comments. I need to know like why you couldn't watch it. Like what your parents was on with you. And your childhood sucked. I was just playing. Sucked a little bit.
Took this picture. They noticed this one woman who was standing out. Her face was tilted in a most odd way, creeping everybody who saw it out. We all know that normal people do not take pictures like this at all. She almost looked possessed in this photo. But then people noticed, oh, somebody just edited out the picture and made it look that creepy. Well, here's the normal photo. Believe it or not, majority of the people who seen this photo still was creeped out by the normal looking photo, because if you look deeper into her eyes, if you just look deeper and deeper into her, she just still looks creepy.
These girls are force-fed to be fat. They're taken to fattening farms in the middle of the desert, where they are fed the equivalent of 30 cheeseburgers a day. Obviously, these girls can't handle that amount of food. Like, look how small they are. So this happens. And if they refuse to eat, they are beaten. They also put illegal drugs in this food to make them gain weight faster. These girls are sent here by their parents. In this last 2 to 3 months. This all happens because here, girls get married like before they're 15. And the bigger the girl, the easier it is for them to find a husband. And obviously this is really important to their families, and so this is why their families send them here. And obviously force-feeding people or trying to gain or lose weight really quickly is really dangerous for your health. So when this all happens, these girls get really, really sick. It's not only like headaches and vomiting, this increases their risk of developing really severe diseases. People from this camp have developed diabetes, heart disease, liver failure, kidney failure. And part of this is because of the extra stuff that they put in the food. Like, they're literally given animal steroids to get them to gain weight faster. Part 2 is already up. Follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more if you like my content. It really helps when you interact.
Y'all know.
Nah, I done heard of fat camps, but I thought they was to lose weight, not to gain weight. That's crazy, but different coaches, but that's crazy to think that you would ship your kid off, your daughter off somewhere so they can force feed her just so she can get fat. Like, that's crazy. And then I thought we had a food shortage. They need to take some of them burgers to somewhere that ain't got no burgers, man. I think 30 burgers? Damn, slow down.
I know that lady that is going viral for asking people to tell their ghost stories that are completely unbelievable, but they're actually true. Well, I tried to stitch her video, but my stitch isn't working for some reason, so I'm going to tell y'all right here. Me and my sister and my mom, we used to stay in this house that sat right in front of a graveyard. Me and my sister's bedroom was located in the back of the house right beside the graveyard. And we used to always have a pile of leaves in our backyard because we had trees in our backyard. And y'all know how when y'all walk on leaves, it makes that sound. It sounds like you're walking on leaves. But anyways, on a Wednesday around 11 o'clock at night, when everybody else was asleep, I really didn't go to sleep because I'd be up on social media. But I kept hearing like leaves rustling in the backyard, like somebody was walking on them. And you can hear the walk start off far and then get close to our back window because of the leaves. And every time that walk got close to our back window, it would be a little tiny tap on our window. And like I said, I'm the only one that's up at this point. But me, I'm just thinking it's the wind or something. So I just went back to scrolling on my social media. But I kept hearing the walk get far and then get near, get far and then get near. And it was like a walk that was slow. And every time the walk got back near to our window, the knocks on our window got louder. So I decided to get up and look out the window, but there's nobody there. And all of a sudden the walk just stopped. And for some reason, that only happened every Wednesday around 11. So one Wednesday, my sister decided to stay up with me because she wanted to see for herself, because she thought I was just paranoid that we moved beside the graveyard. So she stayed up with me until 11 o'clock, and it happened again. We would hear somebody walking back and forth from our bedroom window and knocking on our bedroom window. My sister decided that we should tell our mom, and we did, but my mom took it as somebody was trying to break in our house, so she called the police. And the police searched the backyard but couldn't find nobody. But of course, me and my sister knew that they wasn't finna find nobody. But fast forward, me and my sister used to play around, and we gave each other nicknames. My nickname was Sarah. I forgot her nickname. But we was the only people who knew our nicknames that we gave each other. But anyways, on a Wednesday, my sister, she had went to church. And I usually go, but for some reason, I didn't go that time. So that left me in the house alone because my mom was at work. And I already know what happens on Wednesdays. So I didn't even go to our bedroom. I sat right in the living room until everybody came home. But as I was sitting in the living room, I kept hearing this tiny knock on the front door. And I already had a clue of what was going on, so I didn't even go to the front door. But as I just sat and waited for the knock to stop, it actually got louder. So I just turned on a movie and started watching a movie until my sister came home. She was about to come home, and I think in about an hour anyways. Then all of a sudden, an unknown number had called my phone. And I answered it, and they just kept saying, Sarah, Sarah. You know, the nickname my sister gave me. So at this point, I thought it was my sister playing around. And I said my sister's name. I said, is this you? Like, I got excited. But after I said that, they hung up. So it was about time for my sister to come home. And when she walked through the door, and I'm like, why is you playing on my phone and you at church? She was so confused about what I was talking about. So I said, somebody had called my phone, and they was like, Sarah, Sarah, and only me and you know our nicknames. She was like, my phone is dead. My phone went dead like a few minutes after I left to go to church. So I thought she was playing. So I took her phone, and I tried to turn it on, but it was actually dead. Baby, I was so scared. We moved out the house like a month later, but for real, that experience was scary.
Do you know the truth?
No, how do you, if that's a real story, that's creepy. Like, I ain't finna sit up here and laugh about it. Somebody was just calling your nickname that nobody know. Come on now, baby. Then you just go turn on some TV and go watch TV? Nah. I hope that was made up, because that was creepy. I ain't gonna lie. Got my head standing up a little bit. I ain't gonna lie.
Behind Teletubbies? The real story of Teletubbies is taken from a mental hospital in Bulgaria for a group of children. Lala has a distorted face that makes her smile all the time. She always sat in her room alone in the hospital, so her skin turned yellow because she wasn't exposed to the sun. Tinky Winky was 7 years old, and he hit himself on the wall until his head cracked. So they tied him up with a rope so he wouldn't move. Because of the rope and restrictions on his limbs turned blue. Boo was with them in the hospital. And when the fire happened, they forgot all about her. I think you know why she is red. And for Tinky, he was always hungry and sad because he was depressed. When they gave him food, he would just throw it away. Nipsey represented a deaf child who was allegedly tied to a fence outside and suffered frostbite. The characters of the Teletubbies are based off of real children who endured horrific experiences. Why would they base a children's show off of real-world horrific stories from a mental hospital?
I ain't gonna hold you. I don't think that one real. That's why you don't believe everything you see on TV or hear on the internet. That was just wild.
The man in this photo is one of the worst sexual offenders in the history of Ohio. This
What
man's
the
name was
fuck?
Brian Peppers. For years, this photograph circulated on the internet attached to his story of sexual abuse, and nobody believed that it was real. But some fact-checking was eventually done, and yes, Brian Peppers was a real man with a real peppered past. So Brian was born with something called Cruzon syndrome. And when Brian was younger, he was bullied incessantly by people in his school. So as Brian grew older over the years, his body quickly began to grow weaker, and eventually his mental health deteriorated to such a point that he had to be checked into a nursing home. But it was in the year 1998 when Brian was arrested and convicted of molesting somebody. According to the report, he actually sexually abused the nurse that was taking care of him in the nursing home. Brian was then removed from the nursing home. He spent 30 days in jail, and he was on probation for 5 years. After this incident, Brian was on the sex offenders registry in Ohio up until his death. When he died, Brian Peppers was only 4 foot 1 inches tall, and he passed away on February 7th, 2012, which, eerily enough, is the day that I'm posting this TikTok, and I didn't even realize it until I read that just now.
The man...
That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's go
the
to
man
some
in
of the
this
comments.
photo is one of the...
Let's go to some of the comments. Hold on. What did he say? How did bro even do anything? On me, like, he was getting weaker and weaker. How did he even do something? Like, that's crazy. I would have been terrified of him. On my soul, he just creepy. So how did he do anything? He's so tiny. I mean, if he molesting little kids little too, you feel me? They little too. He lives a very sad life on me. Like, damn. That's traumatizing right there, bro. Damn. They talking about some Brian Peppers. Hell no.
The man behind me is the real-life human Dracula. His name is Tsutomu Miyazaki. He was born with a deformity that fused his wrists with his hands, so he was bullied a ton growing up. Then one day, later on in adulthood in 1988, something snapped in him. He started abducting little children, specifically little girls, and engaging in necrophilia. He would strangle his victims to death and then engage with their corpse. He would even go as far as removing some of their body parts like their hands and feet and even their teeth. One way that made him also very similar to Jeffrey Dahmer, he would pose these bodies in different ways and photograph them. On one of his last instances before he got caught, he drank the blood of a little girl. And then right after that, he ate her hand. One day he was at the playground trying to take pictures of more little kids, and the father intervened and stopped him. So Mr. Dracula behind me fled on foot, naked, and was caught by the cops later on. That's when they discovered his disturbing collection of photos and body parts inside of his apartment. However, he blamed it on his alter ego named the Rat Man. They were not playing any games with this guy. They immediately sentenced him to death. The government hung him on June 17th, 2008. Let me know what you guys think about the Rat Man or Dracula in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only. The woman behind me decapitated her boyfriend when they were doing it and then bragged about it to everybody. The worst part about this, his mother found his head inside of a bucket in their home. The woman's name is Taylor Shaw Business, and the victim right here is Shad Tyrion. Shad and Taylor knew each other since middle school and had been in a relationship since then. So what was different about this time? Apparently she was under the influence of something that led her to do this, is what she claims. Also, she carved out his organs and other parts of his body and scattered them everywhere. She also preserved Shad's blood and then showered in it and told detectives how fun it was. She also attacked her own lawyer during this hearing. Now, Taylor Shaw Business also admitted to loving every little detail about the murder. She said she loved the entire process, all of that crazy stuff. She then continued to engage in necrophilia with his corpse. Now, it gets even sicker here. So when the mother realized that her son was decapitated, she called the police, obviously. They searched everywhere. They found parts of the body scattered in boxes and bags inside of a minivan at one point. And when interviewing Taylor Shaw Business, she said, "You're gonna have so much fun finding the organs, or trying to find the organs." She tried to claim that she was bipolar and that's what happened. She kind of blacked out. However, the jury found her competent to stand trial, so she stood trial. She didn't get away so easy from this one. This story is just insane. People out there are crazy, as you can see. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
They said she got sentenced to life. So, that's crazy. What she deserved. That's wild. Like, people be out here sick, bro. They be out here sick, bro. Like, who would do something? That's why you got be careful, man. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful.
Vampire. This is one of the scariest places in America. Welcome to Bunnyman Bridge.
It's
said that the origin of this
Fuck y'all
legend
talking about.
began in the early 1900s when a bus was transporting mental patients to a new facility near the town of Clifton, Virginia. The driver lost control of the bus and crashed. The survivors escaped into the nearby woods, but were soon captured, all except for Marcus Walster and Douglas J. Griffin. Eventually, Walster was found hanging from a railroad overpass on Colchester Road, along with several half-eaten and skinned rabbits that were found all around the forest by the locals and the authorities. It was thought that Griffin was behind this and earned him the nickname the Bunny Man. Despite search efforts, Griffin was never found, but it wasn't the last that we'd ever hear from him. And it's believed that this area is still haunted by the Bunny Man. Decades later, sightings of a hatchet-wielding man in a bunny suit proliferated through the 70s. And if you go to the Bunnyman Bridge on Halloween and chant his name 3 times, he'll appear to you and be the last thing you ever see. But what do you think of the Bunnyman legend? Leave a comment and let me know what other urban legends and haunted places for each state that you'd like to hear about next.
So this photo is the reason you shouldn't put your feet up on the dashboard of a car. In 2007, Granny Keeley had an airbag deploy on her at 120 miles an hour. She was sitting passenger with her feet up on the dash, and when the airbag went off, her knees went right into her skull. Obviously, this led to a brain injury. Her 2 front teeth also fell out, but she lived, thankfully. She lived without a forehead for about 2 years until surgeons fitted a ceramic forehead into her skull. She had near constant headaches and she developed gallstones because of the medication she was on. After they fitted a ceramic plate into her forehead, they injected fat from her stomach into it so it could look more natural. This is her today, so she looks very normal now. And of course, because she's in good spirit, she says her ceramic forehead is designer because it was made in Italy. She also spent a considerable amount of time educating people on why they shouldn't put their feet up on the dashboard.
Nah, that's a wild one. Damn, you see her forehead? People in the comments are even wilder. They talking about headset then. It's crazy. I thought it was a headset then, bro. She better get some earbuds. Talk about they was going 120 miles per hour. Me, that's insane. Talk about, man, what a small idea, bruh. That shit crazy. Glad she okay, man, but that's crazy, bro. Like, unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable.
Because if you do, you could end up like this. And you might...
Like I'm dead, you killed me, I'm dead now. Shut up, Deku! Oh.
This is TikToker Claire Miller, and in 2021, she stabbed her sister to death. So back in 2021, Claire Miller was your average 14-year-old girl. She was normal, she went to school, she had friends, and she posted a lot of videos on TikTok where she accrued a small fan base. There are even still pages to this day devoted to reposting her old TikToks and sharing them. But Claire had a dark side that nobody ever noticed. And that dark side would lash out in the worst imaginable way in 2021. So Claire had an older sister named Helen. She was 19, Claire was 14, and sadly Helen had cerebral palsy, which, as you know, is a debilitating disease. Right. But for some reason, on February 2nd, 2021, Claire snapped. She grabbed a knife inside of her house and stabbed her 19-year-old sister, Helen, in the neck. Claire then called the police to turn herself in and was hysterical on the phone, claiming, "I killed my sister, you need to come here now." And when authorities arrived at her house, Claire was standing out front, she was covered in blood, there was blood in the snow, and her sister was found inside of the home with a knife still inside of her neck. Authorities have gone on the record after this murder and stated how this case is so unusual because it was a sister murdering her older sister, and Claire was so young when she committed this crime. She was only 14 years old. Now, obviously, Claire's parents were horrified to find out that this had happened. They not only lost one of their daughters, but they lost their other daughter too because she was then arrested. And even though her attorneys tried to get this case moved to juvenile court, that motion was denied. And even though after her trial it was found that Claire was mentally ill, she was sentenced to 12.5 years to 40 years in prison after a third-degree murder conviction. This story, once again, just goes to show that you can't ever really tell who a person is based on what they post on social media, because you could never tell by Claire's post that she was about to murder her own sister. I mean, just take a look at this final video.
This was the drawing made by a 6-year-old boy in 2012.
She looked a little crazy to me.
The picture was found in his room by his older sister Tracy, who sent this to me, who was 14 at the time, and she showed it to her parents. In the picture is the family around the dinner table, drawn in a typical 6-year-old skill level. The reason Tracy showed it to her family is because she could recognize all the family members at the dinner table, even the family dog and cat. Who she couldn't recognize was the man sitting on the floor kind of behind the table. Tracy said in her emails to me that when she was asking her little brother who that man was, he kept shrugging his shoulders and saying he's not allowed to tell. The man was drawn to be dressed in all black and has reddish-brown curly hair, as you can see. Because of her little brother's refusal to explain who that 5th person in the picture was, she showed it to her parents, explaining that he likely had an imaginary friend or was pretending to be seeing ghosts. After the parents confronted the child at dinner, asking who the man in the picture was, the boy made a pouty face and shrugged his shoulders. He did this anytime they asked, with the most detailed answer from his mouth being, "I'm not allowed to tell." The parents, specifically the dad, weren't fazed by it, as really a 6-year-old could draw anything and create some kind of crazy story in their head behind it. Tracy would be responsible for watching her brother often when their parents weren't home, and one day when she was left in charge of watching him, she heard her brother talking to someone in his room. Upon getting to his room, she learned he was just playing with his toy car set on the floor, talking to most likely himself as he played. Tracy asked if he was talking to anyone. He looked at her and shrugged his shoulders again, pouting his face. Tracy then noticed some candies on the floor of her brother's room, a specific kind of green apple flavored candy that she'd never seen her mother buy before. She asked him where he got this, and he ignored her, going back to playing. Tracy took the candies, and that angered her brother, yelling, "Give them back." She waited until her parents returned home to ask if either of them had bought the unusual candy. Since the boy was only 6 and it was summer break, aka receiving the candies at school wasn't even a possibility, the random candies appearing in the boy's room became a concern. Even as the boy was scolded and pressed by his parents as to where he got the candies from, he still just made his pouty, angry face and ignored them. The boy was grounded by his father until he would answer the question, so he wasn't allowed to leave his room. The family checked the closets in his room, under the bed, even the closets outside of the room. The idea that someone was inside of the house was out the window. On that same night that he was grounded, Tracy sat close to her bedroom door instead of on her bed, so that she would easily hear if and when her brother in the next room would start talking. And sure enough, when he did, which to note was way past her brother's bedtime, she jumped up and ran to his room, opened the door, and saw her little 6-year-old brother standing at his open window talking to a man who looked as though he were about to climb into the room. Tracy screamed for her mom and dad, causing the man at the window to flee, and her brother began to cry. Once Tracy told her parents that a man was talking to her brother through his window, the police were called. The boy still refused to talk at first, but with the police there, he eventually said that his friend told him not to tell anyone about him, or that he couldn't come and play anymore. When asked his friend's name and age, he said he didn't know. When asked what the two of them would do, the boy said he would come with snacks and candies for him and just play with toys. When asked how they met, he said they met in front of the house one day when the man stopped on his bike and gave him some candy. After offering to come back with more candies and snacks, Tracy's brother told him which bedroom window was his, and that's when this started.
Man, that's crazy, bro. See, that's all for some candy, shorty. That's wild, bro. I couldn't even imagine. I wish my son would do some dumb stuff like that, but that's crazy. The kids gonna be kids, man. You never know. That's why you gotta teach these kids early, man. Let them know don't talk to strangers. All that is still meaningful. That is shit. Save a life, bro. Like, he creeping in that. He was grooming that little boy. He was grooming that. First, he was gonna play with some toys for probably about like a day or two, but it wasn't just gonna be no playing with no toys for too much longer, man. We ain't gonna be playing with no toys too much longer, man. I already know. That shit crazy though, man. But man, that's it for this video, man. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel, man. Hit that bell, man. And most importantly, man, comment. Let me know some feedback, man. If y'all got some scary stories or some videos that y'all should check out on TikTok, some people I should check out, drop it in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts on the videos that y'all seen today, man. Let's get it going, man. I'm out. Stay wavy.